Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Montana, Mr. Rosendale, you're recognized for 5
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I think this is a very well thought out proposal, and I would like to support it, and I would like to yield the balance of my time to Representative Stauber.
Thank you very much. I just want to comment make a comment to my good friend from Michigan, Representative Dingell. Uplisting the northern long-eared bat will upend the 4D rule enjoyed by Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and that's the conservation habitat plans. And according to testimony in front of this body, habitat preservation due to uplisting is highly unlikely to lead to a reversal in the declines experienced by cave-dwelling bats. Again, the white nose syndrome is not caused by any human activity. And I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Does anyone else wish to be recognized? Have you had time yet, Mr. Huffman?
No, and I know you wanted to hear from me, Mr. Chairman, so I thought I would chime in.
You're recognized.
I feel that a word of support for bats is in order. It's rare that I disagree with my colleague from Michigan, but the truth is, in addition to the incredible ecological services they provide and helping keep populations of mosquitoes and other insects down, bats are just cool. They're mammals that fly. They echolocate. They're really charismatic little guys. We should care about the protection of all species, whether they are charismatic and cool and echolocate or not. But we should be especially interested in making sure that these really unique and incredible critters do not go extinct on our watch. Lastly, I will just mention, Mr. Chairman, that whether the long-eared bat is threatened with extinction because of the destruction of its habitat, because of climate change, or because of a fungus that people brought from other continents to North America, it doesn't matter. We talked about this with an Endangered Species Act expert. The ESA is there to provide a backstop against extinction regardless of the cause. So with that, I want to urge colleagues to oppose this legislation, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Does anybody else wish to be recognized? I'll now recognize myself. And I think this is a great example of how the Endangered Species Act is broken. I don't discount the fact that the long-eared bat probably is endangered. There have been many deaths of white-nosed bat or long-eared bat because of white nose syndrome. That is not what's at question here. And I don't even say that there shouldn't be reason for the bat to be listed as endangered or it's got a declining population. But that's not the issue. The issue is what happens after it's listed, and that's where the breakdown is. That's why this legislation is necessary and why I strongly support the legislation, because if it was about saving the bat, we would be at an all-out focus on habitat and on finding some way to stop the white nose syndrome. But what getting the bat listed does is it stops the very practices that can actually help bat populations. As we heard from testimony in the hearing, how the bat likes an open space in the forest to forage. The bat actually likes forest management. What was the federal agency's knee-jerk reaction with the bat? Is to stop forest management. And that is not helping the bat in any form or fashion. It's similar to what happened with the northern spotted owl. It got on the endangered species list. It was very effective for those who wanted to stop forest management in the Northwest. Lots of mills went out of business, a lot of little towns closed. And guess what? The forest continued to grow. It got overgrown and overstocked. A little critter, I believe it's the barred owl, moved in and will run the spotted owl out of its nest. It doesn't have the habitat. And now we're, post-mortem, we're going back and we're seeing where the northern spotted owl thrives out west is where people actually managed the forest and opened it up so it could feed and forage. And this is real. This is, I've talked to federal forest managers in my district back home in Arkansas. And their fear, the people working at the Forest Service who are wanting to do the right thing, their fear is that a bat's going to show up on their forest. I said, well, what happens if the bat shows up? They said, everything stops. We start counting bats. We start putting traps up. Our whole focus becomes on, how many bats are here, not on how do we improve habitat, how do we manage for the bat, but how do we deal with fish and wildlife. And it's almost like overstepping of jurisdiction with Fish and Wildlife coming on the Forest Service and telling them how they manage. So this creates real problems. At the end of the day, it doesn't help with the bat, and it's why we need legislation like Mr. Stauber has offered here. Until these agencies figure out how to use the laws that Congress has given them to actually fulfill the purpose of having the law, then unfortunately I think we as members of Congress have to step in and reclaim that legislative oversight and power that we graciously granted to the administration through the Endangered Species Act. So I support the resolution, and I yield back. Is there further discussion on the resolution?